Sit back, relax, and enjoy as Don-Tony gives you news and reviews from AEW, NXT, and indie wrestling too.
Know what's happening in the world of wrestling without the hate and clickbait.
It's Wednesday night, Don-O-Mite.
And now, your host, Don-Tony.
Do you think they didn't do the Billy Gunn turn tonight because so many people online expected it to happen? And as a result, we got a very messy conclusion to the Acclaimed losing the AEW Tag Team Championships to the Guns. No heel turn. I don't know. I got to be honest with you. You cannot base, changes, and that's the vibe I'm getting. The vibe I'm getting is, Tony Khan saw everybody talking about it and said, oh, you know what? I'm going to swerve everybody online. We're not going to have Billy Gunn turn. I don't know. It just very, very messy main event. But the Gun Club's new tag champs, excuse me. I had to fix my lighting. I thought it was a little dark tonight. Nothing wrong with being dark, but, the lights are a little dim tonight. Good evening, everybody. It is Wednesday night, February 8th, 2023. This is Wednesday Night Dynamite. I am Don-Tony. As always, I want to thank you very much for joining me. Now, tonight we're going to do it a little bit differently tonight. We're really not going to spend much time as far as recaps for AEW and NXT. We will get into the results, a couple of quick comments, and, some really good news. I know he is not a part of AEW or NXT. He is WWE main roster. Well, he's not a roster anymore, but he still does commentating, pre-shows for premium live events, occasional guest appearance. But, it would be so disrespectful if we didn't talk about it tonight. I wanted to open up. Oh, and by the way, the Jay Briscoe Tribute Shirt did arrive. All right. Actually, you know what? Let's talk about this first. There was a problem with the shipping company that Pro Wrestling Tees used with regards to these shirts. Now, I know a lot of places out there didn't want to tell that to you because it kind of puts Pro Wrestling Tees in a little bit of a negative light. I don't, in the end, find any fault with them. But for those that don't know, they used an outside shipping company called OSM, and it gives you a little bit of a cheaper rate than the post office. And usually when you order shirts for Pro Wrestling Tees, it's done through the post office, priority mail, whatever. This time around with the Jay Briscoe Tribute Shirts, they decided to use OSM, and they used it as like some lightweight budget service. So as a result, this shirt was shipped out, I think, 12 or 13 days ago. And, it took that long to get it. Now, when I mentioned it a couple of days ago, a bunch of you actually contacted OSM about, what's the status of your shipping, even though you had a tracking number. And then I looked into it as well. I got an email from them saying that they had a little bit of a delay as far as their Chicago terminal goes, but they ensured that I was going to have this by yesterday. And sure enough, it arrived yesterday. So in the end, got it. Jay Briscoe, thoughts are with you. And you know what? Another thing, before we even talk about Jerry Lawler. Over the weekend, we had a discussion about Mark Briscoe. I think it was on the sit-down episode, and a few of you out there asked me if I thought Mark Briscoe would be on AEW television again in 2023, or did Warner Media just cave in for one night and just tell Tony Khan, okay, you got your tribute night, and then that's it. Well, when we discussed it over the weekend, I said, in my gut, in my heart, I truly believe that the reason why Warner Media did not budge until literally a couple of days before the tribute night was because they never bothered to spend the time to learn that, hey, the Briscoes are not half bad. It took tragedy. It took a death. It took the community in Delaware. It took wrestlers. It took every walk of life. It took news stations. It took TV. It took everybody to show how special this guy was for his community, for his family. You know, he was not a bad man. And I think somebody finally decided to pay attention and realize, you know, yeah, we might have a problem with some people. This should not be one of them. And Sunday, I said, I truly believe that Mark Briscoe will be back on AEW television. I think once they realized that they made an error, they're not going to apologize for it. No one's going to own up to it. But what you do going forward is what matters. We found out tonight that Mark Briscoe will be on Rampage this Friday. So will it be a live interview? I think so. I think if you're going to put him on AEW television again, it cannot be a pre-recorded segment. I expect them, and I think they tape in Rampage tonight. So that live crowd tonight is getting a nice little treat. So Mark Briscoe is in the house. Now, you know, take note, you know, Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champion. You know, they have to address the situation with the tag titles. You know, is Mark Briscoe going to have to surrender that title? Or is he going to, you know, be able to choose another partner? You know, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. I mean, sooner or later, we got to address that, obviously. But he'll be on Rampage Friday, and that's awesome. That's awesome. That makes me happy. You know what else makes me happy? And, yeah, you know, I said it earlier, and it caught on, and I'm sure, you know, I'm not the only one that thought about it. Someone else out there will post it and get 10,000 likes. I know, that's good. Good for them. It's not why I said it. But Jerry the King Lawler, once again, is battling some grave health issues. The good news is it appears he is kicked out at 2 once again. And he is revving up, and it looks like he's going to recover. For those that don't know what happened, Monday, Jerry Lawler had a massive stroke. Now, I know some of you out there may think the word massive that it's a lot of sites are using might be clickbait to over-exaggerate it to get you to click on the article. No, that's actually the term that the Lawler family put out there, and it is legit. Jerry Lawler suffered a massive stroke on Monday. And look, we just had Misha Montana on. And she had a stroke less than 2 years ago. And we were talking about, you know, I even told you over the weekend about my customer who had a stroke in November and was in the hospital for 2 months. Had to get heart surgery on top of it. Couldn't talk. One side of his body was numb. And that has to do with the brain. You know, if you remember when we were talking about Misha's stroke, when there was an issue with one side of the brain, it actually interferes with the opposite side of the body. So Jerry Lawler, somebody found him face down in a parking lot. Luckily, they got him in time. He was rushed to a hospital, I think in Fort Myers, Florida, and he is doing better. Still has slurred speech, still has weakness in one side of his body. It's going to take a long time. Jerry Lawler may be in the hospital for a good month. You know, maybe 2 weeks to a month. Hopefully he doesn't have to get heart surgery on top of it. You know, sometimes something is undisclosed. But I think at his age, still wrestling, he's probably had quite a few physicals. So this more than likely came out of nowhere. But Jerry Lawler's Twitter account earlier posted a few photos and him putting the thumbs up for everyone. And I thought this was so nice. Jimmy Hart showing up. Jimmy Hart's almost 80 years old, guys. I mean, God bless that guy to have that much energy and just, you know, just beloved. Seriously. I mean, you know, you really can't say anything bad about this. And, you know, Jimmy Hart bringing photos, drawing, you know, showing Jerry some of the artwork that he did. And this is just wonderful, man. This is really, really nice to see. So Jerry Lawler is recuperating. He has a long battle ahead. But I think it's safe to say this time around, his wrestling career is officially over. This is something that, you know, it's so much rehab. I think, you know, remember, you know, he almost died on Monday Night Raw. He literally passed out. And a lot of people do not know this, that people who become unconscious, if you hear snoring, that's not them in a deep sleep dreaming about shit. That's abnormal breathing. And a lot of people who have drug overdoses, when they become unconscious, they start snoring. And that's not because they're out cold sleeping like a baby. You know, when you hear snoring, you're this close to death. No joke. If you do some research, you'll learn about it. So Jerry Lawler, now this is twice that he was knocking on death's door. And I think this time around, you know, Jerry's got to just enjoy life outside of the wrestling ring. So God bless him. God bless him. Snoring while you're sleeping is something totally different. Something totally different. I don't want anybody to worry. You know, I snore at night. Believe me, I snore at night. In fact, my Apple iWatch, I downloaded some program where it like monitors your heart rate while you're sleeping, but it also will record like instances when you wake up or you snore. And I heard one recap one night a couple of months ago, and I'm like, oh my God. I could only imagine what she must deal with when I'm sleeping. So yeah, I snore. CPAP. My mom uses a CPAP. I used a CPAP. Probably about 15 years ago, I used a CPAP for a little while. I needed it. But Jerry Lawler, you know, just all the best wishes to him. You know, hopefully he recovers fully from this. And, man, you know, just really, really scary when you first heard about it. All right. So tonight we'll quickly overview AEW results, NXT. We got to talk about, once again, everyone, sausage cooked. This was a month ago. This was before the Mercedes Moné stuff. This was before the tease of Toxic Attraction facing Roxanne Perez at the last Premium Live event. A toxic turn was coming, and it happened yesterday. And we have the pictures, we have the video, we have slow motion, and we also have the after effect of what happened to Gigi Dolin. And I definitely, absolutely want to reiterate an idea that I thought Jacy Jane would fit perfect. So we'll talk about the future of both of them. And I don't know if it's has to do with the main roster right now. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. MJF tonight, my God. You know, he opened up Dynamite. And, you know, we almost got it, everyone. We talked about it over the weekend. Actually, we talked about it on Monday. It was Monday, 2 days ago, when we were going over the ratings from last week. And I said, when we recap Dynamite ratings, I don't want to include quarter one because there's always that carryover from the Big Bang Theory. And I said it would be really interesting if we get a women's match opening up Dynamite. I want to see what those ratings look like carrying into Big Bang Theory if a women's match opened Dynamite. Now, I understand why they probably wouldn't do it unless they had two women's matches on an episode of Dynamite, because if you bang it out at the very beginning of Dynamite, now you got an hour and 45 minutes of nothing but men's wrestling. But tonight, match two is Jamie Hayter over the Bunny. So we're close, everyone. We getting close. But MJF beat Takeshita, however you want to call his name. Takeshita was what we used to coin it. How do you all feel? Seriously. I mean, because people online that just overly gush. Oh, my God. You know what we got to do? Oh, shit. We got to show you. Oh, later on, we're going to have some fun, everybody. We're going to have some fun. Remember this? Do you remember the Bloomberg article? The guy that Kim Basin, who took Tony Khan and put him on the Ultimate Warrior's body? Oh, my God. I think I picked up something. Should we just throw it out there right now? Do you want a good laugh? Should we just throw it out there right now? You know what Chat GPT is? That open AI program? That's scary shit. That is scary fucking shit. It is unbelievable how accurate it is. And, you know, this is what everybody's been talking about, that it's open source software where you ask it something and it actually will answer you. And, you know, students are now using it to like make book reports and essays. I think this guy that wrote that article used Chat GPT, and live in real time, I'm going to show you why I think he used Chat GPT. We're actually going to go on Chat GPT's website right here, and we're going to type something in and see what kind of response we get. And we're going to do it live so you can see I'm not making this shit up. But, you know, one scary thing about Chat GPT is and I'm queuing up the phrase, I'm going to type it in live on the show. But one of the things that's scary about it, you know, for those that don't know the story behind it, is apparently they did testing outside of the country. They did testing outside of the country. And, okay, I got it queued up. And what they would do in some foreign countries is they would show them tons and tons of horrible footage, horrible content, you know, beheadings, assassinations, you know, the R word that rhymes with grape, all this absolutely disgusting stuff, bomb making, everything. And what their job was to do was to flag anything that was deemed, you know, inappropriate, illegal, you know, terrible. And, you know, they were very successful in filtering out a lot of the, you know, horrible content. The problem is that a lot of people from these countries that, you know, are poor and they get paid decent money to do this, they're now all fucked up in the head. I mean, not everybody, but a lot of people are fucked up in the head, experiencing all this tragedy, and they're weeding this stuff out, and you're looking at, oh my God, there is some wild backstory to this. But let's have some fun for a minute. Why not? Let's mix it up a little bit. I could do whatever I want over here, and you all seem to enjoy it. So let me pull up here. Hang on. Let me pull it up. All right. So this is, let's pull it up. Okay. This was the article. This is live right now. This is the website. That is the article about Tony Khan. And when we dissected it last Saturday, you know, you realize that it looked like a child wrote this article. I mean, the pictures that they used was ridiculously horrible. If you look at some of what was written, it feels like somebody from Ringside News. Oh, there's the oh my God. So this article, you know, some of the description about Tony Khan, about AEW fans, about what AEW is all about, some of it just felt almost like they were cutting and pasting from a wiki article, but it wasn't. And then I started thinking about Chat GPT, and it fucking hit me. I'm going to show you something right now. Let's do one for an example. All right, so we're going to go to here. Let's go to enter. All right, so, okay, so we're going to go here. Now, if you look on the bottom, you can see there's the line. You see the line down there? Okay, so there is the line. So I'm going to type in there a phrase. Describe to me an AEW fan. All right, you see it there? Describe to me an AEW fan. I don't know why it keeps minimizing, but you could see it there. See, describe to me an AEW fan. All right, so I'm going to click enter, and let's see what comes up. Now, you have to look at the Bloomberg article and compare it to what comes up here. This is just an example. I'm going to show you an example, but then I'm going to type in a question. And when you read the article and you read the chat GPT response, there's too much coincidence. All right, so let's hit enter. I'm going to get out of here. Let's go a little bit further back. All right, so now I'm going to hit enter. Now watch your screen. Describe to me an AEW fan. Now this is going to type it live. We're live right now. So it's thinking. Okay, there you go. An AEW fan is someone who is an enthusiast and supporter of the professional wrestling company All Elite Wrestling. They likely enjoy watching AEW's weekly TV show Dynamite as well as its pay-per-view events. AEW fans are passionate about the product and often have favorite wrestlers or storylines that follow closely. They are knowledgeable about the history of pro wrestling and the current state of the industry and enjoy engaging in discussions and debates. So it goes on about community. Enthusiastic supporters of AEW. So far, it's pretty generic. But, a decent response. All right, so let's clear that out. Let's clear this out. Okay, come on, clear it out, confirm. There you go, we cleared it out. All right, so now we go back, and then I'm going to type the phrase in that I need you all to see. And I'm going to show you a screenshot very quickly of the article again. I want you to see something with the article. All right. So here, let me find it. Okay, here it is. Okay, here it is. Look at your screen. All right. That is, I want you to pay attention to this paragraph here. More importantly, nerd. Other than Luke Gallows, does anybody use the term nerd anymore? The average AEW viewer is more of a wrestling nerd than the casual WWE fan. And it goes, so I want you to remember this paragraph when we go here. Let's go back. Hang on. There you go. All right, so now let's go to the question. I'm typing in the question, and the question I'm posing is this. You see it on the bottom? Compare the average AEW viewer to a WWE viewer, because that's pretty much what the conversation was about. I typed that in. So now I want you to see the result. Let's go on the screen. Wow, it's actually working pretty seamlessly. So now I want you to see the result. Okay, get ready. I'm here. I'm going to type in enter, and here we go. Remember that paragraph. Check this out. It's thinking. Compare the average AEW. Here we go. Watch this. I hope it doesn't change what it said earlier. Watch this. I had a feel. It is difficult to make a direct comparison between the average AEW viewer and the WWE viewers. Both companies have different target audiences and demographics. We go on and on. AEW tends to appeal to a more hardcore wrestling fan base with a focus of in-ring action and athleticism. AEW has also been noted for its more adult-oriented content with more mature themes and edgier storytelling. The average AEW viewer is likely to be a longtime wrestling fan who appreciates the high-flying risk of wrestling. On the other hand, and it talks about WWE, and then it goes here. Let's find, where's the nerd? Where is the nerd? Let me see. It used a nerd reference. So, okay, let me type this in. Hang on. Hold on, I got to clear this because this is not easy to do because this is live screen capture. So let me reset this. Okay, let's see. We should see something with nerd pop up now. All right, this is similar. Okay, look, there you go. Here we go. This is it. It shows about fans. Okay, all genders, their backgrounds, because they have multiple answers. Okay, let's see. You should see the term nerd pop up. Okay, hold on. It's still typing. Generation Z, more traditional demographic. Okay, alternative to WWE. Let's keep going. Hold on. We got to. This better not be an epic fail. It won't be an epic fail because there's multiple answers that it gives. So we just gotta enter it and it'll come up. Let's try this now. Let's see what comes up. But it actually uses the term wrestling nerd, and I think what this guy did was he kept entering it, and then you see it'll come up. But if you read the article and you type in some questions as far as what he's writing, it's almost word for word. Let's see if it comes up here. Okay. See how it's a little bit different now about growing up nostalgia, demographic, emotional connection to the product, niche promotion. Okay. Look, different type of wrestling experience, focusing on athleticism. Let's see. It talks about generalizations. So now I'm going to type in one more thing and then we'll move on. I'm going to type in one more thing. And I'm going to add the word nerd. AEW viewer nerd. I got to clear out the conversation. Okay, here we go. All right. Compare the average AEW viewer. Now watch only one message at the time. Oh, come on. Don't stop fucking with me now. New chat. All right, hold on. I'm sorry, everyone. This is live. I didn't want to pre-record it because then somebody may have accused me of doctoring it. Let's see if it comes up. Let's see. Oh, look at that. I don't have to get that. All right. So point is, if you go on that site and you start typing in some of the comments that he writes, it actually will come up and say that some people may call AEW fans as wrestling nerds. So I invite you to go to Chat GPT, look at that article, and when it talks about a particular topic, just type in something from that topic and it almost word for word. If I put them side by side, you'll see what I'm talking about. So, all right. Anyway, hey, it's not easy to do this live and screenshot it and capture, it live in action. So, all right, that's fine. So, all right, let's start moving on and let's start getting out here. Got an injury update for Dijak. And this is fucking unbelievable, man. Dijak, if you saw NXT Vengeance Day, somebody said that his finger just slipped. That is like Sid Vicious leg injury. If you look at his finger, he went to the hospital. That is a legitimate x-ray. His finger is not broken. It is dislocated. This guy does not need surgery. I can't believe that it didn't almost penetrate the skin. He is so fucking lucky right now. I mean, he's going to be out of action for a little while. Maybe they could put a splint and maybe he could still work. But I think right now, especially since fans know what happened to Dijak, let him rest. Let him get a little bit better. And I think when he comes back, I think he may get a little bit more momentum from the fans. Because right now, I think some people are unsure. Are we supposed to cheer him? Are we not supposed to cheer him? He took on Von Wagner last week. You're like, okay, who am I supposed to root for here? And then he takes on Wesley, and man, did they put on an awesome performance. Did not see that coming. You always feel like Dijak does his best work against other big men. But man, him and Wesley really killed it. Thank God. Thank God he's okay. So, all right. Rumor killer that I want to share with you right now. Did you see a lot of websites reporting last week that WWE is going to allow some NXT stars to work? And the magic word was select indie dates. Okay. This is the truth about what's going on. Because if you pay close attention, people are talking on both sides of their mouth. They're saying one thing, then they find out it's not true, and then they twist it and say a completely different thing. People reported that WWE was allowing them. And where that all came from was this. Ivy Nile is scheduled to be on Booker T's Reality of Wrestling on February 11th, 3 days from now. So, that's where they got it from. The truth is, once Shawn Michaels shot that down, all of a sudden everybody was saying, well, if it works out, this is a test run, and if it works out, then they will be letting them work in it. The fact is, Booker T works with WWE, and they want to give some NXT wrestlers, because some of these house shows are not, they're not working as much as you would expect them to. Now, we're on the road to WrestleMania, but doing some shows locally in Florida is not enough. Ivy Nile was married very recently. She was, off TV for a while. So they want to give her a little bit of extra work. So the fact is that WWE is, if they're going to allow some of their NXT stars to work some indie shows, It's going to be promotions that they trust. It's going to be people that they may be associated with. Probably see something related to the schools that some of the wrestlers are involved in. Would not be surprised if you see something related to maybe with Cody down the line or Booker T. Places like that. Maybe a larger indie promotion, but it's going to be companies that they trust and work with. That was never out of the question. But when people saw that with the Ivy Now, they raced and ran to it and said that, they're opening it up. No, that's not actually accurate. Now, the funny thing is, if more NXT stars work some indie promotions, then they'll say, see, I told you. See, I told you. But that is the truth. Right now, they're letting some wrestlers get some extra time and extra work in. And that's the right way to go. By the way, over the weekend at NXT Vengeance Day, I know none of us saw this coming. Fallon Henley and Kiana James winning the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships. And I'm surprised at how many people do not realize that it was not that long ago that Fallon Henley was doing AEW dark matches, and she was not alone. Kiana James was also working AEW dark matches. And just look at how fast they turn shit around. And now they're tag champs. Now, it's more storyline than anything else right now. I know a lot of people feel like, why did you take it off of Katana Chance and Kayden Carter? We're going into WrestleMania. WrestleMania, we need some title changes. The New Day, obviously, they want to use them for WrestleMania, not necessarily for NXT. So that's why they dropped the titles before Mania to Gallus. But, I'm not saying that Fallon Henley and Kiana James are going to drop the titles at Mania, but there is a good chance. Now, the storyline that we talked about over the weekend is that Fallon Henley is not necessarily, realized what, there's going to be some, arguing as far as, Kiana James, like, breaking the rules a little bit too much, and that's not really what Fallon's all about and this and that, but pretty cool to see that happen. But before we talk about Toxic Attraction, and maybe we'll even just finish up the show with a little bit of Toxic Attraction, let's quickly run down AEW tonight. And I got to make mention about that story that MJF told, which is pretty fucking wild. It's, let's put it this way. Him doing the blowjob reference on TV, is probably, people that want like that Steve Austin TV 14 content, they love this stuff. I have no problem with it, but remember what I have said before. And this is not a knock on MJF. And it's not a knock necessarily on Jon Moxley. But when you see MJF make gestures like that, and when you hear the vulgarity and some of the real explicit promos that he cuts, for me, I'm an adult male. I'm entertained by it. I'm not offended by it. I understand, the method behind the madness. The point I'm making is that the true challenge for MJF is to be able to keep that level of entertainment for fans or the anger you cause to fans without going there the way he does. Now, he is still in AEW, and we're only in February. So there is absolutely no reason for MJF to be cleaning up his act, if you want to even call it that. But we get to 2024. Now, look, no one out there knows what MJF's future is in AEW come 2024. Listen, right now, a lot of those goof websites are thinking about which way to roll the dice. Is he going to stay or is he going to go? You got a 50-50 shot of being right. So people will throw it out there. My sources tell us that MJF is already locked in past 2024. And they'll write it now or they'll write it very, very soon. So 7-8 months later, or even less than that, when rumors start coming out that that he apparently signed a new deal, then they could go back and say, "You see, we were right. Pay me. I'm accurate." Without naming the site, we found out yesterday that SummerSlam is coming to Detroit, Ford Field, and particular website, not Fightful. Fightful originally reported it last year. But just to show you how sausage is made, and you'll find this cute. Another website claimed that they broke the story before Fightful did. And they reference a screenshot of their website from like October of last year. And the funny thing is that these matarazzas don't even understand that there's Wayback Machine, there's Google Cache, and there's other places where you can find out if a page was updated or altered from its original posting. And without blowing up their spot, you go on the right website, you put in the link for that article, you find out that the article was altered very, very recently. So it's not even, and the best part about it, if you go on their website and you click on their article history, conveniently, their article history stops, drum roll please, a week after that article supposedly came out. I mean, these people are amateurs, man. They are fucking amateurs. So, but anyway, with MJF, the thing is, if he goes to WWE, honestly, do you think he could say the shit that he's saying right now? The blowjob reference, whatever. Vulgar language, of course, he's not going to be able to go there with. But, he told the story tonight, and I posted this just for shits and giggles. He talks about how evil of a person he is. He talks about, I think, his high school days. And he had this blue Chevy Camaro. And he met this girl that, he had a crush on, or he just wanted to go with it, this and that. And he tells the girl, let's go for a ride. And he says, for legal purposes, we'll call her Liv. And I immediately remembered this picture. And I wrote on Twitter tonight, I said, here's a picture of MJF with Liv. And by the way, Liv is wearing Chevy Camaro blue colored jeans or stretchies or whatever. So, no, he was not talking about Liv Morgan. I don't want to insult the person, but somebody was quick with the comeback on social media. He was talking about someone that was dark-skinned. Nowhere in my tweet did I say that he was talking about Liv Morgan. I just pointed out that Liv Morgan was wearing Camaro blue pants in this picture. Some people want to try to do that little gotcha like. But anyway, MJF tells a story that he was in the car and he was apparently getting a blowjob while he was driving. And he's racing and this and that. And the next thing you know, he has a car accident, loses control. And a few of you emailed me tonight, DM'd me and said, hey, DT, what do you think he meant when he said that he tasted pennies when he had the car crash? The only thing that comes to mind that I know as far as auto wrecks, because, I'm an insurance agent and I've been one since 98. But I do know that some people, when they have a car crash, their head hits the steering wheel, or if they have a head injury, that could interfere with your sense of taste. And some people lose their sense of taste entirely for a little while. Sometimes you get a metallic taste in your mouth. So I think what he was probably referencing in that story is that he hit the steering wheel, and blah, 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 whatever. I don't think anybody really cares about that aspect of the story, but he's so ruthless and he's so terrible that apparently the woman, Liv, died in the vehicle, or she was unconscious. And when the cops showed up, he put his finger by her nose, and I'm assuming that she was dead, and he switched places with her. So the cops believed that she was behind the wheel. Now, I haven't seen much of this yet, but I guarantee you, you will. I know some people are going to say, DT, that's ridiculous. No. Trust me when I tell you, this is how social media works sometimes. This probably didn't even cross your mind, but I will bet you, you will see people suddenly incensed online tonight. You know why? You'll have people say, AEW, how the fuck could you have MJF tell a story like that after Jay Briscoe just tragically died in a car accident? How the fuck could you tell a story like that? You watch on social media, give it a little time, and people that aren't even offended by the story, they'll remember Jay Briscoe to be like, oh, and you watch the bullshit that comes out. I'm telling you, I see it a mile away. It's not the first time. But MJF cutting a powerful, epic promo of how much of a dick that he is. And for us, we love it. The challenge is, what are you going to get with MJF when he goes to WWE? If he goes to WWE. You know, we don't know what the future of WWE is going to be. I think they'll end up staying around for a while because they're making crazy money. You know, anybody that buys WWE, if they buy WWE, and I'm not going to get into that whole conversation tonight, but I explained to you why it's possible that the sale could be taken off the table because of the media rights negotiations that have to start soon. If somebody buys WWE, you know, there's a phrase, you don't try to fix something that's not broken. Yeah, somebody might look at it and think, oh, I can make this better. I could improve this even bigger. And they could fuck it up. You know, sometimes too many ingredients could spoil the soup. So, you know, hopefully whoever buys it allows a lot of people who are involved with WWE behind the scenes stay in what they're doing. Because WWE right now is making crazy fucking money. They're on so much momentum right now, and they're treating like every premium live event almost like a mini WrestleMania, which we talked about on Monday. Even with the TV, they've amped it up a notch. Even with the TV, you're seeing, you know, names show up you didn't expect, and you would probably think they'd advertised for a month before they showed up. So MJF cuts a crazy-ass promo tonight, but as we opened up with the show, I was going to ask you this before, and I'm going to ask you it now. For everyone out there that thinks that Takeshita is a future heavyweight champion for AEW, with all due respect, I don't see it. I don't see Swerve Strickland as a future headliner for a pay-per-view for AEW. Maybe Ring of Honor, but not AEW. Not that I don't think that they can't make it, but I just don't see AEW going there. I feel that the AEW Tag Team Championships are a big step below the trios titles. It feels like a secondary title. It doesn't feel like as big as it should be. And it's cool to see the Acclaim get it. It's cool to see Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus get it for a little while. It's cool to see, you know, the Guns to a certain extent, even though to me, they're in no position to be champions yet. But those titles feel very inferior to the trios titles, in my opinion. But the thing with Takeshita is this. How do you feel that he lost a title eliminator match tonight? Because isn't the meaning of the title eliminator match is that if you lose, you're eliminated from title contention? If I remember correctly, didn't Will Ospreay recently take on Jon Moxley? I think he took on Moxley. Was it Ospreay or was it, who also just signed? If someone wants to correct me if it wasn't Ospreay, somebody took on Moxley recently and people are like, why is this guy, Juice Robinson, was it Juice Robinson or was it Will Ospreay? It was one of the two. But I remember fans saying like, why is this person getting a title eliminator match? And Tony Khan came out there and said, well, if he beats Jon Moxley, he gets a future title shot. And he lost. Okay, thank you, Rando. Juice Robinson. And he lost. So what does this say about Takeshita? He ain't going for the heavyweight title anytime soon as long as MJF is still a champion. So, I don't know. I don't know. I wonder how people feel about that tonight. But Takeshita does lose to MJF in an eliminator match. Jamie Hayter over the Bunny in an eliminator match. Ricky Starks loses the Garcia Guevara gauntlet. And they fucked with this a little bit. You know, I don't think any of us thought that if he won the gauntlet tonight, he was taking on Jericho tonight. I think a lot of us expected him to take Jericho on at the Revolution pay-per-view. And I still think that could happen. But what ends up happening is he beats, he has to run the gauntlet and beat everybody in the Jericho Appreciation Society. And when it came down to Matt Menard and Daddy Magic, he took care of them fruit roll-ups. Was that a little odd for you out there? Seeing two quick pins like that? You don't ever see that in AEW unless it's a squash. And those two guys, they shouldn't be squashed like that. But Ricky Starks beat both of them like this. And we're saying to ourselves, wow, we're going to get like 8 matches tonight. We usually get 4 to 5. But he beats them both like this. Daniel Garcia is the next one to come out. And somebody's at ringside with, I think, a Mil Mascaras mask on and hits Ricky Starks, knocking him out. Revealed to be Jericho, obviously. But as a result, Daniel Garcia pins Ricky Starks. So Ricky Starks don't get Chris Jericho tonight. So, again, I still think it's the pay-per-view, but they changed, that because no one was expecting that he was going to face Jericho tonight. Bryan Danielson over Roosh. I got news for you, man. I don't know how far they would go with Roosh. We already know what Bryan Danielson could do. They should redo that match in Ring of Honor. If they're going to do the next Ring of Honor pay-per-view, if they can get Bryan Danielson on that show, they should redo that match in Ring of Honor. That match tonight, even though we knew the outcome, we knew Bryan Danielson was winning. But as far as match quality goes, that match was phenomenal. There was a funny moment on it, and I'm going to show it to you really quick. Basically, Roosh is out there for his match, and he's by himself. And Bryan Danielson is in a room with Takeshita and Renee Paquette. And Bryan Danielson goes to exit the room, and the door's locked. And it was hilarious because you can't lock the door from the inside. You can only lock it from the outside, which is kind of funny. So now MJF comes down to the ring and he tells Aubrey Edwards, no, you need to start counting to 10. If he can't, show up by the 10 count, the match is over. Roosh wins. Bryan Danielson don't get his match at Revolution. Bryan Danielson ends up knocking the door open, and he uses the bad shoulder, which was great storytelling. I mean, it's kind of stupid when you think about it. It's great storytelling, though, that he wants it so bad that he even used his bad shoulder. He didn't even think twice about it to knock the door down. The two things that I thought was funny about this is, number one, why didn't he kick the door down? Number two, Takeshita, I know that Takeshita was kind of injured, but you would think Bryan Danielson comes to the rescue, that Takeshita would be like, no, let me try. But Bryan Danielson knocks the door down. Now, the funny thing is, and I'm going to show it to you, is on the other side of the door is Preston Vance and the fucking manager. I want you to look closely at them, like Oompa Loompas. When Bryan Danielson ends up on the floor. Now, remember, if Bryan Danielson doesn't answer the 10 count, he loses. Look at this tremendous effort that Preston Vance and the manager does, Jose the assistant, of trying to keep Bryan Danielson from going down to ringside. Watch this closely. Watch. Knocks it down. All right, look. Oh, I've fallen. And I can't get up. I've fallen. Now, watch them closely. They don't even touch him. And then Takeshita, I give props to Takeshita. Because Takeshita probably saw let me be the diversion. So Bryan Danielson, look how easy they let him get. Watch this. Watch how easy they let him get up. Look. Oh, look, just standing there. Look, letting him get up, and he runs away. Awful. Little things like that is amateur hour. Takeshita was fine. Bryan Danielson was fine. Those two look like goofs. Oompa Loompas. It is kind of cringe, to be honest with you. But anyway, Bryan Danielson and Roosh tore the house down. Bryan Danielson wins, and, now he gets the match. It's official. The 60-minute Iron Man match at AEW Revolution for the Heavyweight Championship is going to be MJF versus Bryan Danielson. The Elite retain the trios titles, defeating Top Flight and AR Fox. Another excellent match. But for me, it's more like indie. And I'm not necessarily knocking that. But, when you could... The only match tonight that we really didn't know the outcome was the Guns versus the Acclaimed. We all wondered, Billy Gunn going to turn? The Guns going to win it? Or are we going to just let this continue? But I think a lot of us felt that this feud had to come to an end because they just keep bringing it up over and over and over again. And as I said earlier, it feels tonight like Tony Khan, because of so many people online thinking that Billy Gunn's going to turn, instead of just allowing that to happen, and if you have a great idea on paper how that's going to happen, you have it happen. Because people, look, everybody knew the outcome of the other matches, and they still went ahead and had those outcomes. But because so many people thought Billy Gunn was going to turn, that, I'm going to show everybody online, and I'm not going to have him turn. And instead, we got a sloppy, very lackluster finish with even 2 to 3 minutes to kill. And I got news for you. I don't know if any of you felt this, but I sure did. When I looked at the clock and it was 9:57, and the Gun Club are on the rampway holding the titles up, I'm saying to myself, are the lights going to go out? Is some tag team going to show up that we're not expecting? Are we going to get a major surprise tonight? And we didn't get that. Instead, they're just showing Billy Gunn with the Acclaimed, and they looked depressed, dejected. And then they start playing the music, and there's still 2 minutes left. They're like, okay, this looks just... The last 5 minutes of Dynamite tonight was like a wet fart, to be honest with you. And I personally think that is... And look, if Billy Gunn does not turn on the Acclaimed in the next 2 weeks, all right, then maybe he wasn't supposed to turn at all. But I just get this real strong feeling that Tony Khan was like, I'll swerve everybody. And I think that's what we got tonight. It would be interesting if the Acclaim turned on Billy Gunn. Be interesting. But would AEW have the Acclaim turn heel right now? I think that would be foolish. Everybody loves the Acclaim. They love the raps. They're a little bit ridiculous. Tonight was kind of funny. Max Caster talking in Spanish, talking about Chinese balloons, talking about a whole bunch of shit, which was pretty funny. But very lackluster main event. But a lot of what we see on TV feels like indies. And I loved working on the indies, not in a very serious role, but I love the indies. I love going, and it's like you go home happy. You got great fucking wrestling. No real deep, continuality, in a lot of ways, or just things thrown out there for the sake of throwing it out there. Matches that the outcomes, but you still get great entertainment, and that's all that matters. You go home happy, and that's the end of it. But understand, most indies only draw a couple of hundred people. Very, very rare these days that an indie promotion will draw over 1,500 fans. You think about that. You got WWE drawing 15 to 20,000 fans, 12,000 fans. AEW drawing 5 to 8, 9,000, 10,000 fans. And you have another indie promotion with great stars, great talents in the same area, and having shows every single month in that area and could only draw 200, 300. You put tickets for $10 and you still can't get people in droves to show up. When I was doing stuff back in the mid-2000s, we had a couple of shows where we had 1,500 to 1,700. But, as far as VPW goes, average, 500 fans? 600 fans? Even when XPW came to the ECW arena, the first show we had over 1,000 fans, and then it started cutting back. And by their last Philly show, they probably only had maybe like 400 fans there. And the funny thing is, half of them were from my bus trips. So, this is AEW. This is a company at a $144 million TV deal. This is a company that people think, could possibly buy WWE. And as long as you have a lot of that indie wrestling mentality, how in God's green earth, if NXT, which feels like indie because of the amateur, a lot of the wrestlers have not made it yet, as far as larger than life, big time players, entertainers for the masses. That's why you saw a lot of wrestlers who were in NXT, and you had this noise online. Oh, this person should be on the main roster. This person should be on the main roster. Oh, Vince fucked this up. And yes, Vince did fuck some people up. But other promotions where they went on, or even AEW, where they finally got the show what they could do, and they still can't draw 1 million. And please don't say to me, well, no one person's going to draw 1 million viewers. If my favorite wrestler or one of my favorite wrestlers is going to be on TV, it's at a reasonable hour, why wouldn't I turn in just to see what they're doing? I mean, that's almost mind-boggling. That's why I always laughed about New Japan. New Japan has not clicked with American wrestling fans yet. And you want a good example of it? MLW Underground. MLW Underground just debuted yesterday on Reelz. Now, I watched a lot of it today. And they debuted on Reelz. And what's so cool about MLW's debut on Reelz is, look, I'm going to be honest here. I don't see MLW drawing big numbers for a very long time. Their roster right now, as it is, there's nothing extra special to make you want to tune in. But yesterday, on their debut, they drew 79,000 viewers. That's only about 15,000 viewers less than Impact Wrestling. That is almost double of what New Japan gets. New Japan this week on Access drew 58,000 viewers. That's a high number. Usually they're around 35,000, 40, 45,000 viewers. This is New Japan. So when you see somebody show up on AEW that's from New Japan, Forbidden Door. Forbidden Door is epic, amazing. Holy shit. I'm shaking right now. That same wrestler could appear on Impact Wrestling every week for 6 months. And these fans are so into that wrestler, they don't turn it on once to see him on Impact. They don't turn it on New Japan once to see what they're doing in New Japan. Fucking New Japan is on television every single week, and they can't even draw 100,000 viewers. I mean, you think about that. And the funny thing is, with Forbidden Door and how much AEW had New Japan on their TV, I think people forget how much New Japan was on AEW television. And even with that, New Japan got no ratings jolt on Access. Look, I don't have all the ratings history in front of me, but if you look at it before that time and after, it's hilarious. It did nothing. It did zero. But yesterday, MLW debuted on Reelz, and, it wasn't a bad show. And you had Alex Hammerstone, Enzo was on it. Leo Rush will be on future episodes. You got Taya, Valkyrie. You got John Morrison that's on some episodes. You got other wrestlers as well. But the cool aspect about it is one of the reasons why MLW ended up on Reelz is because of this show. Any of you know what that show is? Anybody a fan of what Live PD used to be, or it's now On Patrol Live? I've talked about that show many, many times over the last 6-7 months. That show, On Patrol Live, is the reincarnation of Live PD. If anybody used to watch Live PD, I was a huge fan of it, but it was taken off the air after the George Floyd tragedy because of, the perception of police and all the, just the conflict across the country and beyond. And Live PD was pulled off of A&E. And, again, not every cop is a bad person, but it was such a toxic situation that you kind of understood why they took him off the air. But Reelz, now they have On Patrol Live, which is, similar to what Live PD, and their ratings are up almost 300%. And apparently Reelz did some type of research, and they found a lot of fans who watch On Patrol Live are wrestling fans. How they came to that, I have no idea. But the immediate thought was Warner Media thinking that wrestling fans would love this slap bullshit that Dana White has out there. That shit is awful. That will be off the air. If it's not already off the air, it'll be off the air soon. That shit will not click. That is destined. We're going to look back on that. And it's been around for years, but we're going to look back on it and I'm going to say that is one of the epic fails ever as far as TV goes. And fucking Warner Media apparently had some focus groups and everything, and they actually thought that wrestling fans would love to see that slapping shit, which is just brutal. It's awful. But apparently the research of On Patrol Live, and now I'm familiar with Reelz. I watch it every Friday night. I watch On Patrol Live every Friday night and most Saturday nights. So I'm familiar with the channel. So now they're on Reelz. And he did 79,000 viewers yesterday. It was not a bad show. The thing is, though, the content is fairly new. It's not stuff that's been taped 7-8 months ago. I will not be surprised if they start throwing in a nostalgic match here and there. Because MLW's been around for a long time. But I think they're probably going to throw in a nostalgic match here and there. Because on the surface, 2-3 weeks, they'll probably be down to like 50,000 viewers. They might, get some jolts here and there. There's nothing that really pulls you in. It feels indie. And again, there's a reason why indies only draw a few hundred fans. And if you have that indie mentality that, it doesn't have to be tight, it doesn't have to be perfect. You have a show and you only have 3 rows of fans. That perception that nobody is coming to your shows, that's not an inspiration to want to see people tune in. It's kind of depressing to tune into a baseball game and see only 4,000 fans in attendance in a 50,000 seat building. You kind of depressing and you kind of want to change the channel. It gives the aura that fans just don't find it good enough. And that's the aura you get on TV. Now, I want to briefly talk about Jon Moxley. Then we'll talk about Toxic Attraction NXT results, and we'll get out of here. If you saw the thumbnail for tonight's show, I talked about Jon Moxley and his blading. If you see the text, for me, that's my way of playing on words. There is a phrase with the abbreviation IDGAF, which stands for I don't give a fuck. So I kind of tweaked it, and instead of I don't give a fuck, I changed it to I don't gig a fuck. Jon Moxley, this is something that a lot of people do not want to talk about. I think it's time we talk about it. Jon Moxley loved working on the indies. Jon Moxley loved working in CZW, loved the hardcore All Japan wrestling, the physical violence, the bleeding, the hard nose. Some people do like that that extreme physicality. And the thing is, I applaud Jon Moxley for caring this much about AEW. But, I look at it like a magician, okay? You go to a magic show, all right? You don't want, at the time, when you're seeing the magic, you don't want to see the secret. After the show is over, you go on your computer and you Google it, or you go on YouTube, like, how the fuck did he do that card trick? How the fuck did he do this? How the fuck did she do this? So, but when you're watching it, when you watch a movie, while the movie is on, you want that suspension of disbelief that everything you're watching is real. Everything. And the thing is that when you have Jon Moxley, and this is not the first time he's done it. Now, hear me out, because this is leading to a question, okay? This is the most recent one, and this was last week with Hangman Page. Now, yes, you could find fault, absolutely find fault in the production of AEW. How is someone in the back not slapping someone's head? The fuck the camera off of him. The fuck you doing? The guy is in the corner and he's gigging his head not to draw blood, but to open the wound just a little. So when Hangman Page goes like that, blood start coming out. And for suspension of disbelief, that's great. That's great. Jon Moxley, instead of just abbying his head, just cuts it a little so it doesn't bleed. You know, you just hit the surface. You break the skin. But you don't go deep so you don't bleed. So when you just go like this, or what Terry Funk used to do, when Terry Funk would go like this. You remember Barely Legal? When he took on Raven, when you see him in the corner and he's like this, he's trying to force the blood to rush to that area so it starts pouring out. And it looks beautiful. It looks beautiful. The difference is we didn't see Terry Funk going like this. Jon Moxley is sitting in the corner and does this. He's literally in the corner, taking it out, I guess, out of his teeth. Look at it one more time. Look at it one more time. He's taking it out of his teeth, and he's just pricking his face. And I guess he's putting it back in his teeth or something. I don't know. But the thing is, this is not the first time he's done that. He's done it outside the ring. And I know what you're going to say. Well, it's the production's fault for zooming in on him. Well, what about everybody at ringside that's looking right at Moxley? You don't go outside the ring, face down, put your head underneath the apron a little bit. So my question to you is does he just have this I don't give a fuck attitude? I don't care who sees me. Like, and if that's the case, that's fine. But understand that when the magician is doing a magic act and he's literally showing you like, oh, you know, oh, look, all right, pick a card. And I'm going to pull the Excalibur card out of these three. All right. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? Look, I got all these cards, and I'm going to pull the Excalibur one out of all of the cards. And look, I'm going to mix them up. I'm going to mix them up, and I'm looking, see, I'm not doing nothing, and I'm going to pull the Excalibur card, and I'm going to go like this, and I'm still looking at the screen, and I'm going to go like, pull the card out. Oh, yeah, and you just like gradually like look down, and you know, like, it ain't, oh, by the way, it was Ray Phoenix, not Excalibur. I start like exposing it, like people get the fuck out of here. Is that too careless? Is that too much of an I don't give a shit attitude? I mean, Moxley walks down through the crowd, you know, he shrugs, he's got this attitude, fuck this, bullshit this, blah, 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 you know, I don't give a fuck, you know, but if you care that much about AEW, do you want AEW to be CZW? Do you care if AEW is trying to get a TV deal for it? Do you care that AEW doesn't grow? I get this feeling that Jon Moxley is true passionate about AEW. When he works his ass off. Jon Moxley works his ass off. He does not wing anything, and he doesn't just pack it in. He works his ass off. But there is, you know, suspension of disbelief also, and it just comes off that, hey, I don't give a fuck who sees me. You know, I'm fucking bleeding here. I'm fighting here. I'm taking fucking big shots. I'm actually, you know, getting hit. at times, because I give a shit about it. I don't know how you all feel about that. Should he be a little bit more discreet, because, again, we're in the age of social media that everything is under a microscope. When you have AEW Dark and AEW Elevation and people botch really fucking bad, or something is shown that kind of like ruins whatever you're watching, and they don't edit it because, oh no, we want to show it in its authenticity. Why do you think movies edit their films? Why do you think they go in production and take out 30, 40, 60 minutes of fun? Why do you think people clean up their show? Every other form of entertainment can edits, boosts, enhances, takes things away, cleans this up there. It comes off to me as, I don't get paid enough. I don't give a fuck. I'm working hard. That's good enough. And I think that mentality hurts AEW in the end. Jon Moxley, to me, more as I see this, I feel like Jon Moxley is a medium-sized fish that would rather be in a small pond than be a medium-sized fish in a big pond. I don't think Jon Moxley, other than meeting Renee and making friends over the years and becoming a household name in the world of pro wrestling, I think all of that he loves about WWE. But I think in the end, I think Jon Moxley, I don't think he cares about being bright lights WWE in front of millions. I think as long as he's getting paid good and he's allowed to bleed and he's allowed to curse and he's allowed to, gig and he's allowed to use weapons, he's allowed to do this, it just feels like it's the I don't give a fuck attitude. Where do you draw the line with that? That's what I would like to know. Because when you see pro wrestling with AEW and it draws 1 million, 900,000, 850, 920, 1,000,006, you keep reading online, lately what? Bryan Danielson, Kenny Omega greater than Macho Man Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan. Or you see the preview for tonight's Dynamite, and what do you see these people write? Oh, if this was a pay-per-view, I'd buy it. But meanwhile, it still only draws 800,000-900,000 viewers. When do you start addressing this? Is Tony Khan afraid to say, look, you got to do this discreetly? Yes. Why does production still zoom in? Is this funny today? Is this a running gag? Look, we showed him gigging. Look, we got him. I don't know. This is supposed to be like look at the Bloomberg article. People think that they might buy WWE. Randy Orton, we showed that video recently. Randy Orton, a lot of you have seen that video, where he was laid out outside the ring and he's unconscious. The cameras are not on him. And he's like a couple of little fans at ringside and he's like, and he's having fun and he's leaving. The thing is that WWE doesn't put the camera on him and fucking air it during Raw or a premium live event. So, I don't know. I just wanted to share it because there's a lot of people that seem to just brush it off like, oh, it's no big deal. It's no big deal. We know what wrestling is. So what he does that? No big deal. I don't know. I don't know how you feel about it. So, all right. Before we get out of here, let's, by the way, Rampage Friday, Jack Perry will be in action. Mark Briscoe, as I showed you earlier, will be appearing. Ruby Soho will be taking on Marina Shafir, and the Blackpool Combat Club will be taking on the Butcher the Blade and Kip Sabian. And no matches announced yet for Dynamite. NXT yesterday. Match results. Dava Kato over Dante Chen. Isla Dawn over Tatum Paxley. Carmelo Hayes over JD McDonough. Laya Valkyria over Valentina Feroz. Stax beating Odyssey Jones, which surprised the shit out of me. And Pretty Deadly over Chase University. But the big news coming out of yesterday, Toxic Attraction was going to be guests for Bayley's Ding Dong Hello. And you realized when this was going to close NXT, something was going to go down. Some people thought, hey, maybe Mandy Rose returns. Some people thought Dakota Kai and Io Sky were going to show up and attack Toxic Attraction. But we quickly realized that Toxic Attraction was going to be throwing some insults to each other, doing some one-liners. Jacy Jane throwing some jabs. Didn't she say something like a cross with Chucky with some crackhead or something? They had some funny one-liners, but they threw their insults. But at the end of the day, they are Toxic Attraction, and they hug, and Bayley is happy. Now, of course, Bayley, being happy, you knew it was going to lead to something. And that's when I thought Damage Control, if Dakota Kai is still not dealing with a very serious injury, that's when I thought they were going to come out and attack Toxic Attraction. But that did not happen. As they're hugging it out, now I got to show it to you in pieces because we don't want any copyright issues. But after the segment is over, they hug. Jacy Jane, kind of happy, felt really emotional at this point, but they hug it out. And then you have both of them in the ring, and their arms are raised in the air.
Thanks to Bayley.
So they're hugging, they're holding each other's arms, and then Jacy Jane lets go, takes an extra step back, and you know what's going to happen, everyone. Super kick to the chest. Boom! Knocks her out. Super kick to the chest, knocks her on her ass. But that wasn't the story here. What happens next? Yeah, it was uncomfortable, man. There's no way to put it. Jacy Jane takes Gigi Dolin. And Gigi Dolin, you had to feel bad for her because her with selling pain, and we've talked about this before, Gigi Dolin, when she sells pain, she cries. A lot of people have noticed that. We've talked about it. I mean, not just wailing in tears, but obviously she's crying yesterday, not just because of the pain, but because why is her best friend doing this to her? So Jacy Jane super kicks her, and then Jacy Jane picks up Gigi Dolin and just throws her into the door, and this is fucks her up. And yet, look at Gigi Dolin now. Gigi Dolin is crying, wailing. Jacy Jane is pissed the fuck off, and Jacy Jane does this. Head first into the door. I mean, literally. Now, listen. If you ever seen Gigi Dolin on the indie circuit, she will take some brutal shots, man. She's a tough son of a bitch. She took a shot in the door, and that was disturbing. But this is something that you're going to remember 5, 10, 20 years from now, just because of how brutal it looked. And this goes back to what I said earlier about MJF. MJF is awesome. MJF is a master of what he's doing. The thing is, when it comes to WWE, is MJF going to say half the things that he says? And the answer is no. When you see what you see here with Gigi Dolin, let's be honest, that is something WWE on the main roster does not allow. And I guarantee you, I'm not saying that Shawn Michaels is getting any heat over this or Gigi Dolin or anyone else, but, there's a reason why you don't ever see something like this, because WWE doesn't allow it. They are paranoid about head injuries, which they should. They just don't allow it to get to this level. If this was AEW, there's a good chance you would see something brutal like this because they will go that extra step. But watch what Jacy Jane does to Gigi Dolin. Now, Gigi Dolin is laid out and she's crying hysterical and she got no place to go, man. And that ding dong hello set, that needs a little bit of refurbishing. Just look at your screen. Watch this. Watch it. This is the kick of the decade. Watch this. Watch this. Oh, wow. That's something you see like with somebody's iPhone in a fucking parking lot after a road rage incident. All right. If you didn't think it was that bad, look at it in slow motion. Boom. Oh my God. Holy shit. Show it to you one more. Look at it in slow motion. Oh, did I just fucking close it? That's okay. I can fix that. Look at it in slow motion. Watch this. Boom. Now, the funny thing about it is she got kicked on the right side of her face. So the next day, you would think that kick to the face was brutal. Her face is going to be swollen. It's going to be bruised. It's going to be all cut up. Well, she shared a picture today of what her face looks like today. And believe it or not, the side of her face that suffered the most damage was the opposite side. Her head going into the side frame of the door is what did all the damage to her. She took a fucking beating last night. Look at it one more time in slow motion. Watch the other side of her face. That is crazy, man. And after it was over, you know, Jacy Jane, you know, I'll say this. For those comparing it to Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, I understand why people are saying it. The difference is, though, is that at the time, and I was a wrestling fan at that time, at the time that went down, we really didn't know yet who was going to be the major star of the two. Shawn Michaels had a little bit of a head start, but at that time, fans were big into Marty Jannetty as well. Marty Jannetty fucked himself up because he had some type of an incident with a woman, if I remember correctly, and it fucked up his chance of having a WrestleMania match with Shawn Michaels. And, you know, Marty Jannetty would get into trouble a few times. Marty Jannetty never had the opportunity to really try to get to that next level. He kept fucking himself up. So at the time, we did not think, you know, this might have been, this is Shawn Michaels at that time, and this is Marty Jannetty. We did not think that after all of these years, it would be like this. So the reason why people are comparing it to Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty is because of Shawn Michaels turning on his partner and doing something extremely vicious. That's why people are bringing it up. Two partners holding each other's hands up high, super kick thrown through the plate glass window. Shawn Michaels is also running NXT. So it's almost like a little tribute to them as well. But you can't say that Gigi is the Marty Jannetty of the group because we've been talking about this for a while. WWE sees more money right now with Gigi Dolin. I think Jacy Jane has the potential to really fucking turn it up a notch as well. Now, for a long time, I thought Jacy Jane would be perfect as a Guidette, a female in Tony D'Angelo's camp. We just had this conversation over the weekend. Tony D'Angelo's hit a major plateau. And the big problem with Tony D'Angelo is that when you cut promos and you're talking about, hey, the family, hey, yeah, the family, what'd you think I was going to throw you off the bridge? No, I'm going to promote you. Promote me to what? There's no one else around. So Tony D'Angelo's hit a major plateau because storyline-wise, you know, it's goofy. It looks ridiculous. Stacks gets promoted to what? So they got to expand that group or they got to start taking it in a totally different direction. Turning babyface, being a heel, you don't simply just switch that and there's problem solved. I think Jacy Jane being with that group, she would fit. If you ever seen like, Growing Up Gotti, or you ever see like, those Italian housewives, the gangster wives and all that shit, Jacy Jane could fit that and fit it well. She looks Italian. I don't know if she is Italian, but she looks Italian. She's got that look that if you made her almost like Marissa Tomei from My Cousin Vinny, she doesn't have to have the extreme New York accent. Obviously, we know what Jacy Jane sounds like already. But the big question is, where do you go from here? Now, when we talked last week about Toxic Attraction, I said, if you bring them to the main roster, they got to remain a tag team on the main roster. If they do not go to the main roster as a tag team, then you got to split them up. And the reason being is because if Gigi Dolin goes to Raw, Gigi Dolin goes to SmackDown, how the fuck is she going to leapfrog all of these women that are already there? You look at Raw and you look at all the women that have the position that they do. And where is Gigi Dolin fit in that group? Is she going to leapfrog Rhea? No. Is she going to leapfrog Bayley? No. Is she going to leapfrog Bianca Belair? No. Is she going to leapfrog Io Sky and Dakota Kai? No. She might leapfrog Candice LeRae, Dana Brooke, maybe Nikki Cross. Where does that leave you? It doesn't leave you with you bring her to SmackDown. Is she going to leapfrog Charlotte? You kidding me? Is she going to leapfrog, Raquel Rodriguez? Liv Morgan? She might leapfrog Xia Li, but you realize bringing someone to the main roster is all great and everything. Like you hear people like, oh, we got to get Indy Hartwell on the main roster for what? To do segments with Dexter Lumis. Because if she wrestles on Raw or on SmackDown, who's she going to defeat? She's going to defeat the Xia Li's, the Dana Brooks, the Candice LeRae, and that's pretty much. And then where do you go 3 months from now? So if you bring Toxic Attraction to the main roster as a tag team, now you look at the tag team women's division, and it's very, very light. Other than Sky and Kai, there's really no real strong tag team or makeshifts. You got makeshifts. So Toxic Attraction coming to the main roster as a tag team looks very appealing. People think Kaden Carter, Casey Catanzaro going to the main roster looks appealing. Now they have a much different outlook. They could accumulate a whole boatload of wins. Raquel Rodriguez may team up with Xia Li, just for example, and Xia Li would eat the pin. But you see where I'm going with this? So, but you're not going to bring them to the main roster right now as single stars because there's too many people they'd have to leapfrog. That's why I think you got to keep them in NXT. They're going to feud with each other for a while. And then where it goes from here, we got to see. We have to see. Now, there's enough women on the NXT roster that they can definitely go toe-to-toe with. On the main roster, though, it becomes a much bigger problem. But, the one thing that does suck about this, you realize, I feel bad for Mandy Rose out of all of this because now that group, it's done. Even if they tried to do a storyline where Mandy Rose came back and tried to mend fences, let me tell you something, everyone. When you do this, there ain't no turning back. There ain't no turning back from that. That is the Shawn Michaels throwing through the plate glass window. Gigi Dolin, even though she's the one that got thrown through the plate glass window, quote unquote, she may end up being the Shawn Michaels out of this. We don't know what their careers are going to end up. Everybody talks about Carmelo Hayes, and I do also, but I also think Trick Williams is going to have a fucking great career, man. I can't wait for Trick Williams to go to that main roster. He's going to be like the anti-Street Profits. And I'm not just saying because they're black, but his attitude, oh my God. He's going to be like a Miz to a different level. But we got to see where this goes from here. But I think tonight, we toast Toxic Attraction because a lot of us do watch NXT on a weekly basis. And, some of the giveaways that we've done in the past, the Gigi Dolin signed photos, that Toxic Attraction triple sign photo that we gave away twice. There was big turnouts for those giveaways. Toxic Attraction was one of the big highlights of NXT over the last year and a half. And unfortunately now that group is officially history. So now we see where it goes from here. I'll say one last thing in closing. I saw the other day Mandy Rose made a remark. And yeah, it triggers people on social media to get behind her, and I don't need to prove it. I am a huge fan of Mandy Rose. She's been very generous, giving us so many autograph photos in the past to give away. She is good people, and I said that way before she even got released. But the other day, she made a remark to somebody and said that WWE did not give her any warning. That if WWE, she basically said if WWE would have given her a warning, she would have taken everything down. She would have changed everything. And I'm saying this with the utmost sincerity. You all out there tuning in, me, we all know, before she ever opened a fan time page, we all knew what you could and could not do outside of WWE. You can't pose nude. You can't do pictorials for other magazines. It's all got to be cleared by WWE. We all knew this already. And I add one last thing to it. Why did she not ask WWE when she set up that page and launched it? She says WWE did not warn her, did not tell her not to do it. Why didn't you say anything? When you opened up that page and you started posing the way you were, and we could see a lot of shit revealed, and no one else on that roster, since Playboys, no one on that roster has done anything like that. Why did you not once contact WWE and say, listen, is it okay if I do this? Am I crossing the line by posting this? So her playing the Babe in the Woods, I had no idea. WWE gave me no warning. As much as I am a huge fan of Mandy Rose, as much as I would love to see her back in wrestling, as much as I have said she deserves to be most improved wrestler of 2022, outside of maybe Tiffany Stratton. I mean, how do you do all that and you with a clear head? I could see if she was an airhead or she was just a moron, but you know that she's not stupid. You know, a lot of people the last week, they thought they were cute, making fun of her. Oh, look, the bloom is off the rose. Mandy Rose is now giving away fan times for free. Oh, she's losing money left and right. No, sometimes you got to give a little to get a little. And I told the story when I started my business originally. I put this giant sign on my window, no broker's fees. Switch your policy over to me and you'll pay no broker's fees. I had all these people switching their policies to me. And people were saying to me early on, what are you, stupid? You're getting all this extra work. You're not getting paid nothing. And my answer was, yeah, but when the policy renews, if they stay with me, I get commission. I have the policy. So I have to work for free for a little bit. That's fine. But if they stay with me when they renew, I get paid. And about 3/4 of the people stood with me and I got paid. So sometimes you got to reel them in. Why do you think at supermarkets, hey, you want a free piece of cheese? You think they want to give you a cheese because they like you? No, they want to give you cheese. You'd be like, this is good. Oh, let me buy a pound. That's why you do it. You give out samples. Like, why are they giving out all these fucking free samples? That's a lot of money. Because they want you to fucking buy the package after. They don't want you to just eat it and walk out the door and go home. That's part of business. But Mandy Rose is not an idiot. And anybody that thinks that, oh, fuck WWE, they didn't even give her a chance, that's bullshit. Because she had many opportunities to say, hey, WWE, I'm going to be launching this page. Is this all right? You know, if she showed the video with her thing hanging out, you know, you don't pass that to, you know, WWE standards and practices, say, you think this is too much? Psh, you know? I think we know what Vince would say. I gotta get a better look at this. You know, she ain't stupid, man. She ain't stupid. All right. Before we get out of here, we have some super shout outs to get into. We got 4 of them. So I definitely would like to acknowledge them, and then we're going to call it because we are right around 90 minutes. Devin M. with the 5 spot. Much love, my friend Devin. Haven't been here for a live show in a while, just showing some love. DT, hope your family's doing good. I appreciate that. My parents are in Florida right now. I am bird sitting, and they will be back this weekend, and they're doing okay. You know, they just they still have some damage from Ian. What was it, Hurricane Ian, right? So they're there doing my father's doing a little bit of cleanup and everything. So, but they're good. I appreciate that. And thank you very much. Nice to see you back, by the way. Sucks about the watch parties, man. Unfortunately, unless we give away like free shit, like almost half a dozen, 10, 15 people show up, and, you know, it just, maybe we'll bring it back. But unfortunately, there's a lot of people, yeah, I'll show up, and then they don't show up. So, but nice to see you back. All right, theme parks with Johnny with a 10 spot. Thank you, Johnny. Toxic Attraction will be a great moment when they get back together, if they do in the future. Never say never. But I think in the end, if they do go to main roster down the line, not now. One will probably go to Raw, one will probably go to SmackDown. And they'll definitely make sure that they stay apart. Listen, there was no reason to split them, but you can't keep going back to Toxic Attraction in the women's tag team title picture in NXT. And let's be honest, they've been lurking in that tag team division all this entire time. When they dropped those tag titles, and we thought they were moving on, and then next thing you know, they're fighting for a number 1 contender spot, and then they lose that. And then 2 weeks later, they're fighting Katana Chance and Kaden Carter anyway, and they just kept creeping in. You could do that with the Usos and the New Day over the years with main roster, but with NXT, doesn't it feel, honestly, as much as we didn't want to see them split, look at the NXT women's tag team division right now. There's no Asuka and Kairi Sane. There's no Sasha Banks and Bayley. And no, I know that they are big time now. But my point is, the women's tag team division in NXT right now feels the most even that it's ever been. The most even it's ever been. There's no tag team there right now that you could turn around and say, oh, they should be dominating everybody on that roster. That's why Kiana James and Fallon Henley winning the tag titles. If you don't follow NXT, you're probably like, who they? Who's that? Who that? But if you follow NXT, it doesn't feel so, wrong. Yes, you may not have wanted the titles to change, but so even right now. You put Ivy Nile and Tatum Paxley out there, you put any two together, and it feels pretty even. With Toxic Attraction still there, they were always labeled that team, the team. So that's probably also why they split them up. So, but thank you, Johnny. Thank you, Johnny. Oh, another 5 spot for Johnny. I will continue to say it. Jacy Jane is very underrated talent, very high on Jacy Jane. Listen, I have sung the praise. Listen, Gigi Dolin, with her look, you knew, I've always said she reminded me of Paige. Even with the different color hair, she always reminded me of Paige. Not just the goth look or anything like that. She reminded me always of Paige. And I feel, and I swear to you, I'm not throwing any shade towards Paige, but I think people understand why I'm saying this. WWE was very serious about keeping Paige and using her. And they said, if you can return to the ring, down the line we'll make it happen. What I think happened is age caught up to Paige. And I'm not trying to be a poet here, but I think age caught up to Paige. And I think that look, that innocent, and forget about what happened with the title and, the X-rated videos. Forget all that for now. I think with Paige, a lot of the innocence was gone. And that look, that innocence, everything about her, I think, just got aged. And I think they looked at Gigi Dolin, and I think, like, she fits that role. She's got that different look, a little goth, a little this. And I really believe that Gigi Dolin is the one to be what Paige was many, many years ago. That's how I've always looked at it. And I'm not saying that Paige is over the hill. I still support the shit out of her. You know, I'm happy that she's back. You know, people don't understand when they do the segments with the spray paint and all that. They're just trying to keep her on TV because neck-wise, she really has to be careful. That's why the last tag match they had on Rampage, she did next to nothing. Not because she's lazy and not because AEW doesn't know how to use her. It's because medically they have to be extremely careful right now. More careful than we know. So you have to think about that and understand it. And if you don't think about it, then what you see on TV, you look like, oh, this is awful. So, all right. But Jacy Jane, she's got a different vibe about her. She's got that vibe where, you know, you know what's funny? I think Jacy Jane could actually follow the mold of Mandy Rose. You know, I'm not saying like completely like how Mandy Rose came off like a supermodel and all that, but I think Jacy Jane, if you look at the photos and her look and the way that she perceives herself, I think she could really, you know, just turn it up a notch. But she's got to keep a character. Gigi Dolin's got the character. She doesn't have to change nothing. She comes out dressed the way she did with the rose, the hat, you know, her look, the extremely pale skin. You know, she just doesn't have to. Jacy Jane has to have an identity. She can't just be a nasty bitch. So Jacy Jane is going to have to tweak her identity a little bit. We'll see what they do. Right now they'll feud with each other, but I still think Jacy Jane is one of those gangster women, you know, in a mafia woman. Oh, I think that would work awesome. Oh, yes. Thank you, Austin, for reminding me. Another week has gone by, everyone. Headphone alert. Diddy-dee-ma. He redeemed another week. Fucking Miro's the most smartest man in pro wrestling. I fucking love that guy, and I mean that sincerely. That guy is made. You realize how much money? I could just picture him like, look, honey. Look, I'm wiping my ass with Tony Khan money this week. Look, I did nothing. Look. I think he seriously just wipes his ass with the money. That guy has made so much money and has done next to nothing. I can't. When he goes back to WWE, do you realize that within 6 weeks he'll probably wrestle more than he's wrestled in 2 years with AEW? So, all right. Finally, for tonight, Liam Savage with the 2 spot. Thank you, Liam. Mandy thought she was bulletproof. Yeah, I do believe that. See, on this show, I know, you know, the channel, we don't hate and clickbait. You know, we don't whine, you know, but we could criticize and we could call people out when they deserve to be, you know, criticized. And Mandy Rose, we're huge supporters of hers. But we also call like we see it. She cannot. If she was in WWE for 6 months or a year, oh, I really didn't know, you know, or she was brand new to pro wrestling, okay, that's different. If she was the female Logan Paul, oh, I didn't know I could do this. I can't do this. She's been in WWE for a while now. And how you think, hey, Sabatelli, her fiance, hey, look, what do you think, WWE? You don't think her fiance didn't say to her once, hey, honey, I don't know if WWE is gonna like that. You don't think that happened even once? When she's, I mean, I'm not going to do it here because I don't want anybody to vomit. But if I put my legs up and you see a little bit of camel toe, but hers, you actually see it like leaking out on the sides of her underwear. And you say, you don't think, even if she didn't think it, you don't think her fiance turned around and say, hey, honey, I don't know. I don't know if WWE's going to, you might want to run that through. I just don't buy that. I don't buy that. I think that she rolled the dice. She thought because of how big she became in NXT. I think because she wanted to roll the dice, and at worst, maybe WWE tells her to take it down. You know, it's almost like people with podcasts. Like they'll play like a lot of footage from like pay-per-views, and they'll see how far they could go until they get flagged. And then it's like, okay, no, I got to take it back. So some people like to, you know, like grab, you know, instead of taking an inch, you take a foot. You keep taking and taking until the point where they say, stop. She thought that they were going to just say, okay, stop. What are you doing? No, they were like, no. They figured Mandy Rose is smarter than that. I think if they truly believed that Mandy Rose was just naive and really thought that it was okay, I think they probably would have said to her, look, take it down immediately, and that's it. But I think they turned around and like, she knew exactly what she was doing. Some of those photos that we gave away, those are not WWE photos. And yes, they are allowed to give things away for free. But if you look at a lot of those post photos, look at the Shotzi Blackheart photos that I've given away. When she's with the Freddy Krueger, the Jason stuff, and her ass is hanging out and everything. And they're nice pictures. They're not X-rated or even close to it. But you think that she was in the back at a WWE house show and you're like, hey, take pictures of me. You know, no, they take photos. And, you know, there's a line that you cannot draw. You know, you cannot cross. She knew what she was doing. She definitely knew. All right, I'm going to get out of here. So, you know, I apologize earlier for that chat GPT stuff. You know, what I'm going to do for shits and giggles, over the weekend, not tonight, I got to go to sleep, but over the weekend, I'm going to cap the video of the phrase that I typed in. I got to look and see what I typed in earlier, check my search history, and then I'll record it, and then I'll play it for you next week. And when you see this thing type up and it says, a lot of AEW fans are misconstrued as wrestling nerds, and you watch this come across your screen, it's almost identical to what this guy wrote. So, but if you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. I got to give it a plug again because it got such an awesome response. If you haven't checked it out already, make sure you check out Podcast Forbidden Door. I conducted our conversation with Misha Montana, and we had a blast and great response. You know, some people, you know, were not thrilled about it. A lot of people enjoyed it. A lot of people didn't even know who she was and now have an idea. There's a lot of interesting feedback from there. And, you know, we'll see where it goes from here. Some of you want to have her back, so we might have her back in the future. Some of you want me to have Matt Riddle on. And I don't want to make any promises, but I will tell you that I have already been told that, how do I say this the right way? Yesterday I said on Patreon perfectly. If I wanted to have Matt Riddle on, I could. I mean, obviously, we would have to wait for a certain set of circumstances to go down. But the only reason why I don't think I would do it, unless it was to like promote WrestleMania, is because I'm not going to be an Ariel Helwani. I'm not going to sit here and have to ask the explicit questions that, you know, he prefers to keep private. You know, there's a couple of topics that if I didn't ask it, everybody, their feedback would be, why didn't you ask this? How could you do an interview and not ask this? If you go on with Ariel Helwani, you're expecting those questions to be asked. For me, I'm not going to invade someone's private space unless they tell me, yeah, this is all right. Don't worry about it. Ask me. That's fine. You know, you respect some people's privacy, especially when it comes to mental health. Especially when it comes to mental health. A lot of mental health is involved over here. A lot of, you know, trying to find yourself and making yourself a better person and everything. And, you know, some of that is not easy to talk about. So, again, I would love to do it, and maybe we will. You know, but again, it probably would be to hype up WrestleMania, but my problem is that I ain't going there if I shouldn't be going there. So that's probably why I wouldn't do it. So, but all right, everybody, I'm out of here. Much love, and I will catch you all again. What's the schedule? Saturday, 11 a.m., Don Tony Show. I have an announcement for our Patreon family. I will post it tomorrow. Next Tuesday is Valentine's Day. I am spending Valentine's Day with my wife, so I will not be doing a Patreon episode next Tuesday. It will be a pre-recorded episode that we will do. It will not be live, but there's going to be more involved. It's going to be actually a pretty cool thing. I think everybody will enjoy, but I'll put that announcement on Patreon tomorrow. So when we'll record it and what the format will be. But next Tuesday, I will be with my wife celebrating our first Valentine's Day, being married. And who knows, maybe that night I get a little bit of wait. Oh, I closed it already. I was going to pull up the MJF photo from her. Oh, no, I do have it. No. That does not happen in the household. So, all right, everybody. I'm going there with me, and I don't feel comfortable. Be well, everybody. Where is my outro? There is my outro. Much love, everybody.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's alright. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.